Good evening, good morning, good night. The scene is set for New Orleans by Night, a series of minisodes leading up to the current era. We start in the chantry, in one of the chantries in New Orleans, where a lone Tremere goes about his business. The Sabbat campaign, the attacks that they had made on the docks had been thwarted. Some of the more exotic bloodlines had made their presence known there, perhaps disturbing to some of the Tremere in the city. It was the fact that a Tremere anti-tribute was present. A few weeks later, towards the beginning of December, the Sabbat came into the city almost overnight in mass with war packs of frenzied individuals that attacked with all the zeal that one might expect out of a Gehenna cult, those that were fanatics, believing that the end of the world was nigh, and would fight tooth and nail to achieve their objectives before everything went to hell. We're on the evening of December 23rd, 2014, and Dmitri Harker is in amongst the servants and ghouls that are going around tending to their duties, regardless if there are only a handful of Tremere in the chantry now. Dr. Ivanov himself is out and away from the chantry for the evening. What is Dmitri up to at this point?
Dmitri is currently in the library, scoured over some textbooks, flipping through pages, very much so lost in his work almost like a robot. His eyes are just kind of going through text, in a multitude of different languages, and he's sorting textbooks and putting things back, and you can see Rooter hands helping him, taking books, retrieving books, sending them back, and Dmitri is keeping notes and almost in a very formulaic way. It's almost startling how fast he's devouring the knowledge. Seems to be lost in thought. Could be personal research, or it could be just a fancy that he does just to keep his mind sharp.
As he sits and reads, the ghouls go about their business. They seem to give the actual apprentices of the chantry their distance, not wanting to intrude on them. Every now and then they may come upon the actual kindred and ask if they require anything as they are making their rounds. One individual from within the chantry, simply known as Domino, is has been there for some time, since before 1997 at least. Oddly enough, none of the apprentices that have come through the chantry itself have really seen her do much of anything. She always seems to be at the regent's beck and call. She says very little. In fact, it is likely that Dimitri's really never heard her speak at all. She simply is a presence within the chantry. And it has gotten some of the apprentices that have come and gone and some of the ghouls to speculate as to what her purpose is. But this evening, as she makes her way through the chantry, she finds herself coming to the same table as Dmitri and sits down across from him, though does not seem to be paying attention to him directly, at least for now.
Dmitri, a little wrapped up in his work. He's gonna keep looking, and then I suppose do you want me to roll perception, alertness, or awareness or something?
No, if she sat down, it's definitely free action to. I mean, you could definitely tell if someone sat down across from you.
And he's going to lift his head up. Yes.
She narrows her eyes for a moment, not in a aggressive manner, but more of a inquisitive manner as she looks at the book that you're reading into, and she simply reaches out across the table and simply taps it several times, and then looks up at you as if waiting for a response.
Yes. New theory on American colonization in the 1930s. Historical text. What's up?
She sort of cants her head to one side inquisitively, her lips parting slightly. Again, she doesn't say anything, but she seems to almost be seeking a little bit more explanation. Perhaps a look of why comes over her face.
Uh, Dmitri is going to stop reading and actually put the book down, fold his arms. It is something I do to pass the time. I like keeping my mind active. I don't like remaining idle. Makes me nervous.
She nods, and she holds up a finger with something of a, not a smile, but maybe just a hint of a smirk as she stands up and she pulls out from underneath her sort of cloak, she pulls out a key. And she walks over to a set of bookshelves that are known to be off limits for the apprentices without previous authorization. And she'll open the case up, looking over the stores of what look to be truly ancient books.
Hmm.
And she stands there looking back at Dmitri.
Uh, I have enough etiquette for that. Would he know about her rank or anything like that?
He would know that she usually is given leeway to do just about whatever she wants. There doesn't seem to be a place in the Chantry she's not allowed to go. Even there are even places within the depths of the Chantry that you know you are not allowed to go anywhere near. But you
Mhm.
see her coming in and out of that hallway, um, at least on a quarterly basis.
Hmm. All right. Dimitri is going to get up. Um, would she be considered his superior?
She hasn't been given a rank within the Chantry.
Hmm. Dimitri will look at her and kind of study what's going on and give a quiz look. He doesn't like it, so he's gonna activate heightened senses. He needs to for hearing. He's curious now as he follows him.
She looks over the books as he comes closer, and her finger moves along. She then raises her brows as she places a finger on top of one of the leather-bound tomes and pulls it out. tucking it into one arm, she closes the cabinet again and locks it, and then gestures back towards the table.
Okay. Um, Looks at the book.
It's written in Latin, or at least the title is. Can you read Latin?
Yep.
Okay. You simply see the words, the sea's fury upon it.
Um, he's gonna ask for the purpose.
She doesn't seem to respond. She simply gives him sort of a inviting look as she sits down at the table, back where she was sitting before.
All right. Cracks open the book.
And she sets it down, obviously, so he can do that. And it seems to be a in-depth explanation of the path of Neptune's might, its creation, its sort of the philosophical uses of it, historical records of it being used to great effect and to being used to ill effect. Um, Incantations and rituals associated with it in various different approaches. But it seems to be a very complete volume of the path of thaumaturgy itself.
He's gonna like. Is it that you don't wish to speak openly?
You can roll perception empathy there.
Nope. One success actually.
The expression that you get from her
Mm-hmm.
is, if you've lived amongst people, humans, for any amount of time that you can remember,
Mm.
you've probably been in a situation where, someone might have mentioned, like, if they were wearing like a belly shirt, and say, "Oh, that's a nasty scar. How did you get that?" Only to find out that that woman had a C-section,
Right.
or why do you wear sunglasses all the time? And when they take it off, you see a very lazy eye.
Mm-hmm.
So the look she kind of gives you is very similar to that when you ask why she won't speak. I'll leave that up to you to figure out.
All right. Telepathy, intelligence, subterfuge.
Uh-oh, somebody's an Auspex monkey.
No, I just built properly and then put everything in thaumaturgy.
Oh, you mean like 90% of Tremere players across the planet?
Yeah, you actually have something other than magic.
What?
um, the difficulty is our current willpower.
9.
Fair enough. So definitely spending willpower because I will at least be able to hold somewhat of a conversation. um. Uh. Sorry.
I've lost a camera feed. He's gone dark.
Oh, sorry. You have my feet now?
Yeah, there it is. Now it's back.
Oh, that cancels that. So one, two, so three successes?
So you're able to create the telepathic link with her, I believe. Are you trying
Uh,
to read her mind, or are you trying...
just to have a conversation, and I'm not trying to like read her mind.
Okay. In that case, she's going to be a willing participant. She's not going to try and not trying to fight it or anything of that nature, not trying to resist.
Hmm.
When she speaks in her mind, she sounds very muted, though
Hmm.
as someone who does not have any idea of what her natural voice would sound like.
Hmm.
So when she speaks, or first her eyes kind of raise up, as none of the apprentices have ever tried to do that to her, and so she looks and kind of cracks a slight smirk. Well, this is a first for me.
Well, I didn't want to be rude, and the hand gestures were getting a bit annoying. How may I be of service?
No particular way you can be. I was simply interested that if you're as much of an academic as you seem to be, perhaps expanding your horizons a bit more would be prudent.
Um, Normally I'm the type to gravitate towards knowledge. However, I am much aware of the fact that without elders approving that, this can often lead to less of reward and more of a chastisement, possibly even harsh punishment. Possibly even harsh punishment.
That I'm well aware of, and I wouldn't place you in a situation where the regent or any of his superiors would come down upon you. That's why I strategically chose this particular book.
Um, all right. Is there any reason why this particular book?
Of all the paths of thaumaturgy that I have studied in my time within the pyramid, this particular path is one I'm most fond of. I find its uses far more utilitarian than perhaps any, with the exception of maybe the relatively new path of technomancy.
I find that the older studies, the older eccentric studies, are very rewarding if you're willing to work within their confines.
There's a certain richness there, isn't it?
It's warming. I do enjoy the smell of vellum.
Dmitri, I should inform you that things are going to be changing soon.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm sure that you're aware of the incident at the airport.
I lost some associates. It's most regrettable.
The Lord Regent is not pleased. She's not pleased at all.
I would assume that she wouldn't be.
And it's unfortunate because I do find that this city benefits greatly from having the presence of the Tremere here.
I agree.
But that may not be an option for much longer. And if apprentices are going to be retasked, there's no telling to which how much longer you would have access to the wealth of knowledge that is within this chantry.
Perception, empathy.
Yeah, go for it.
Uh, Two successes.
You do get that she feels that there is a certain her mannerisms have a slight urgency to them. Like events are in play that she knows about that you don't. That the status of the Tremere in the city will be shifting quite soon. With two successes, she seems to be trying to give you the upper hand as though perhaps she feels some kinship to this chantry and the apprentices within it. Though you do feel a certain distance, and that's previously
Mm-hmm.
from interactions with her, that she always keeps other apprentices away at arm's length and only interacts when she has to. She seems to always be there when disciplinary matters come into play.
Dmitri will look at her and gaze upon her, and almost as if he's looking for more. He isn't being intrusive yet, but he's watching to see what else she's going to reveal. Like he's shifting and waiting.
I want to ensure that the apprentices, at least those that show that they'll be more of a help than a hindrance, are well prepared and aren't going to be handicapped when orders come down from Regent Badu.
Dmitri will look. If her lordship requires me, then for house and clan.
She'll give you an approving nod. I'm glad to know where you stand, Apprentice Harker.
And with that, he is going to. Is there anything else? Something that you uh may be neglecting?
Unfortunately, not that I'm able to share with you at this time.
Dmitri will kind of break the link that they have and just not.
She'll stand, and as she walks past the table, she places her hand on his shoulder and gives it a firm squeeze before walking off back into the depths of the chantry.
Mm-hmm. Suspicious now, but all right.
We jump forward an evening to December 24th. An evening with a certain bit of fanfare to it as far as the court of New Orleans is concerned. As of all reports have come back to the prince and been handed back down to the kindred of the city, the Sabbat have been routed and have been driven into the swamps and the bayou, and now are pressed firmly up against Lupine territory, knowing full well that the Sabbat won't go any further into the swamp. They are now completely cut off, and all remaining individuals, uh, supposedly anyway, have been pushed out of the city. And that there is a Camarilla war band with some of the best combatants the city has to offer, leading the charge.
Um, while sitting in the chantry, Dmitri will be probably in the dormitories, perched up with a book, with a goblet vitae, reading.
As you are sitting and drinking, your phone, if you have one,
Mm-hmm.
it vibrates once.
Um, Click, click.
You notice that the signal bars that normally are at 4
Mm-hmm.
are completely gone, and there's a little X over the actual service symbol.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is odd. Hmm.
And make me a perception and alertness roll.
2 successes.
Okay. You hear a slight commotion downstairs, of feet moving kind of quickly and then abruptly coming to an end with a slight shudder, as if though something was moving quickly down in the foyer and then ran into a wall.
Dmitri will activate blood potency. I will roll for that.
All right, please do.
Okay. Are you familiar with that one?
Of course.
Yeah. It's
That's
like
the lulls.
that's the lulls I don't die one, but
Yeah,
um
that's the lulls. Watch me blood buff.
that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Camera feed, no, why you do this to me? Camera feeds, sorry, gentlemen and ladies that are watching this.
Oh, they're entranced by Starfire going crazy, going ham on the screen.
Go ham. Alright, alright, feedback. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, according to the rules, one success on the willpower roll allows the character to lower his generation by 1 for 1 step per 1 hour. Each additional success grants the character another 1 step down in generation or another 1 hour of effect. So Dmitri is 8th gen, so 1 hour and 8 minus 4.
Fourth gen, huh?
Yeah, blood buff. Let's do this.
Okay. Well then. I see we're going to have a lot more fun than we initially expected.
Yeah, no. Dmitri will, before going downstairs, because a well-prepared Tremere is a Tremere worth having, I will use the ritual of the burning blade on his longsword.
Alright, I forget how long that takes to enact. I can't remember if it's an instant or a not.
Let me get the rules for you. Make this completely legit.
I think it's a level 2?
Yep, level 2.
That's right. Burning Blade. Otherwise, it's a similar level of lethal damage. Should not be soaked, but healed normally. 3 points. Crest. For the next few successful attacks, once per success roll. Alright, roll your intelligence rituals.
Alright,
That's a difficulty 5.
5 in intelligence, 9 in occult.
And this is why Tremere is scary, ladies and gentlemen.
1, 2 wasn't the best roll, so
Oh no, sweet Jesus. 4 aggravated damage per turn, or per attack?
yeah. Yep. So yeah, 4.
Okay.
Dmitri takes his long sword and makes his way out.
As you make your way down the steps from the upper floor, you notice that one of the ghouls, a young man, has been strangled, though you can see that he's still breathing.
Uh, Dmitri will try to um look at him. What happened?
He's out. You
Uh,
notice that there are bruises across his carotid arteries. Well, how much medicine do you have?
Not enough of that.
Okay, yeah. Then you just notice that there's bruises on his neck, so he probably passed out from lack of oxygen.
All right. Dmitri will look around the hall, and are there footprints, tracks, or something?
You notice that certain points in the wall where, if you were knowledgeable about the defenses, if you were privy to that information, you
Probably
notice
not.
that there's spots burned into the wall. Like the wood and the plaster and everything is kind of bowed inward and looks scorched.
Oh, intelligence occult.
Go for it.
I have a specialization. I don't know how you're ruling it in this game. Do tens count as double, or
They do, but it depends on your specialization.
I have a specialization in rituals?
You notice the markings of the blood, the dried blood that is burnt and scorched.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a ward against kindred that has been burnt out. Something has undone the ward, and whatever it did it quickly because this just recently happened. So it had to have been on a level that perhaps you didn't know existed.
Dmitri will steady himself and uh for household club. Would you allow me to make a conscience roll to see if he actually looks for survivors or if he just leaves? He is on humanity 6.
Yeah, you're gonna look for survivors. There's
Alright.
no doubt about that. At Humanity 6, you're looking for survivors.
Alright, cool. So Dimitri's gonna start looking for survivors then.
Okay. You notice as you come through the halls that, through the foyer and everything, that there are more ghouls and servants. Most of them have been dealt with in a non-lethal manner.
Mm-hmm.
One or two look like they put up a fight and were exsanguinated, though you see no visible marks on them, like no bites to the neck, no stab wounds. They just look cold and devoid of blood, almost as if instinctively you just know that there's no value within that body for you as a kindred.
Dimitri will panic a bit and continue to look. If there's any eyes open, he will put one hand and close the eyes.
You begin to hear a ruckus coming from the library.
Book it.
When you come around the corner, you see Domino standing there, her back turned to you, and you see an individual that you've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And her hand is raised, holding what looks to be another apprentice in midair, and his skin seems to be boiling. Her hand not touching him in any way.
Ah, rush her.
As that happens, Domino turns and holds her hands out and attempts to step in your way, trying to stop you. And you can see the look on her face is fairly desperate and intense, as though she is trying to keep you from doing something. Roll me perception empathy.
Sure.
You've probably got a sharp mind, so you can evaluate things as you're going in.
4 successes.
She is definitely trying to keep you from doing something that you are bound to regret.
Dmitri will clench his sword, losing a point of blood as it's taking. He's visibly trying to stop himself, but he's clearly upset by this.
And she'll turn about and place a hand on the other kindred shoulder, to which point the apprentice drops. As you look at Domino, you can see that across her otherwise very enchanting skin, there seems to be a glowing sigil across her forehead in the shape of a T.
Uh, who?
Of a T.
On whose face?
Domino's.
Yeah, I know what that is. You're a traitor.
She looks at Dmitri and she taps the side of her head and then points to you.
You killed them all.
And she shakes her head and she'll make a gesture towards, as if crossing her hands, trying to indicate a clashing.
Uh, uh, Intelligent subterfuge for another telepathy. He's getting anxious now. He needs words, not hand gestures.
She knows sign language, but she knows that probably nobody else in the Chantry knows how to sign.
uh, all right.
One success.
1 success. What? Like,
Only those that offered resistance were harmed.
roll initiative.
All right. Domino will roll her initiative. It's a 13.
Okay. Sorry, Vinny. I'm like not even mad if I die here. Like, um, Dex plus wits is she's definitely going first. So
The individual behind her will place a hand on Domino's shoulder and look at Dmitri as he looks like he's getting ready. Does he visibly look like he's getting ready to square off?
uh, it looks like he's getting ready, but he doesn't really want to do it.
She too has a mark across her head, and it's different uh, from Domino's, but it is certainly one of a traitor. It's the T. It's just each one of them.
Right.
Young apprentice, you really don't have to do this.
You killed them all.
As I said, only the individuals that put up a severe resistance. All the others are simply unconscious. I have no intent to be a butcher here this evening. I'll save that for the fiends and the war band that is going into the bayou as we speak.
Dmitri will clench his sword and almost
Domino has expressly asked that I act without violence this evening. I would hope that perhaps you would do the same.
Dmitri will take his blood-soaked hand, point it at both of them. I will avenge them.
When the time is right, I have no doubt that you will try to. And I will be more than willing to give you a chance. Domino has been watching each of the individuals within this chantry for many years, and she speaks very highly of most of you.
I will not be a traitor.
I have no intent of making you one. And she turns as she turns her attention to the bookshelf, the locked one, as the doors fly open with but a thought from this woman. I'm only coming back for what was rightfully mine from the beginning. And she pulls out a book that is wrapped in cloth and pulls it away from the shelf and places it into a bag that's hanging from Domino's shoulders. Dmitri, I believe, correct?
What do you want?
Take the time to wake the others and have them evacuate. My orders are to destroy this building, though I was not given any orders to see that everyone within perished.
Dmitri will, in a dash, start taking apprentices and making his way into the bayou.
Domino's link is, I'm guessing, still active, at least for a moment, and she calls out to him, "Don't go there. The creatures they've sent are far beyond the scope of anything you've imagined." And she will try to mentally project a image of what a blood brother that she has witnessed in a Gestalt form looks like.
Uh, uh that's wow. He's 6 humanity. It's your call, CST.
I'm going to say, even if you have an inkling of intelligence or common sense, the fact that she advocated for you and that this was resolved without you having to shed anyone's blood, or for the most part, vice versa, that you have no reason not to believe her, at least in this instance. If she wanted you dead, she would have just let you go out there.
Then Dmitri is going to try to rescue who he can to make his way out.
As you come out of the chantry, you notice that there is a van outdoor where several a little bit less refined individuals, likely Canaanites, judging by the way that they carry themselves, um, are getting ready to make their way into the chantry itself. But they were, from what you can tell at least, under orders not to do anything, as they look like they have a bit of a more feral nature about them. They definitely look like humanity is not something they seem cared about, as they are hardened by appearance. Their features are not humane at all. They're pale and pallid, and from everything you can tell, they look battle hardened, as though if there was a fight to come down, that they would have been a match for you, even in your blooded up state.
His concern right now is getting survivors to safety. This will be dealt with, but now's not the right time. He has enough intelligence for that.
As you aid them out, the others begin to head in, and they start coming out with armfuls of tomes and books, the spoils of their victory, so to speak. And as you get the last few out, as they're coming out with the last few books, Domino will actually come to you with another book under her arm and hold it out to you.
Dmitri will take it.
And simply inscribed on the leather binding is a symbol of a small flame. But she implies, do not open this until the time is ready.
All right. Does Dmitri still have the other book she lent him?
If you took it with you, absolutely.
Or he has that one too then. Dmitri will look at her and look her square in the eye. This is far from over.
This was not the intent I had when this all happened. I want you to know that.
We will meet again.
Of that I have no doubt. And two more of the more feral-looking ones walk into the chantry with with duffel bags. And when they come back out, they're carrying nothing, as the brown-haired individual finally comes out with the book, with a few more books, smaller journals, by the looks of it. She gives you one look before getting into a sedan that's parked behind the van, and the individuals drive off without incident. At least until you hear a sort of pop from the dormitories, and as you look up, you see flames licking up the sides of the walls within the chantry.
Dmitri will make his way to another part of the city, and are the ghoul or is the van abandoned?
Hmm?
Whatever survivors he got, he will take to another part of the city.
Okay. One of the contingencies that had been handed down by the prince and the council was that if for some reason this entire campaign was to go awry, there was a town on the other shore of Lake Pontchartrain, just across, by the name of Louisburg. And that is where, if things were to go badly, where the kindred were supposed to fall back to.
Dmitri will then take his survivors there, angry, mind spinning, but knowing that he has to think in order to survive.
You hear about it the next few nights, over the course of the next few nights. You hear about the massacre at the bayou, which becomes known as the Christmas Eve massacre. Um, Many of the best and brightest of the Camarilla were lost that evening as the power in the city went out. All infrastructure that would have aided the Camarilla in some way had been circumvented. Cell phone towers had been disabled. Internet, things of that nature. The Sabbat had put up a clever ruse, what looked like an earnest campaign of shovelheads and a few warband generals turned out to simply be cannon fodder, and that their main force had been smuggled into the city through means that you were not informed about. But in the end, tales of the horde form of Zamisi and an entire pack of Sabbat that seemed to congeal into a single entity, laying waste to the war packs or the war bands, reached your ears. For several weeks after that, the ivory tower was left to lick its wounds. You particularly were contacted by the Tremere within the country.
Mm-hmm.
They arranged a meeting for you in Georgia, asking you to come visit them.
First stop.
And all you know is that when you received this order, you were given this order under the name of Lord Regent Badu. So she's calling for you directly.
All right. Make my way.
You're flown, of course, first class, given all the due and proper that you would feel that is likely due to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you arrive, you are greeted by a rather severe-looking ghoul who eventually leads you into a hotel suite, a penthouse,
Mm-hmm.
and you see a rather demure-looking woman. Uh, she seems to have a very serious look about her, and as you make your way towards her, she regards you with all the coldness you might expect of a Tremere of rank. She looks rather unassuming to be anyone of power, but as a kindred, you know that is never the case.
Mm-hmm. Dmitri will take a bow and Lord Regent.
And she'll nod her head. Apprentice Harker.
I came as quickly as I could.
Oh, wonderful. Would you, or do you require refreshment?
I'm fine. Thank you.
And she'll walk over to a set of chairs that sit on either side of a hearth-style fireplace, and she'll sort of gesture her hand towards one as she goes to sit in the other.
Dmitri will wait for her to sit and then sit himself, giving her all the respect she's due.
She'll sit far back in this plush chair that she's sitting in and sort of steeples her fingers, looking as though she's getting herself extremely comfortable. As I were to understand it for some of the other apprentices that were debriefed, You were there and dealt with the traitors firsthand?
Yes, yes, my lady.
I'm already aware of the treachery of the one known as Domino.
Well aware.
As one of our few thaumaturgical counter ritualists, I'm very sad to learn that she has turned traitor on us.
It's regrettable.
What was the impression that you got off of Domino as this event took place?
She was a willing participant.
I see. What can you tell me of her mental state, if any?
With the powers of telepathy, she seemed cool, calm, and collected.
She was quite the stoic one. It does not surprise me. You encountered another traitor?
Yes,
Tell me about them.
quite adept with thaumaturgical practices, able to unweave rituals and act with surprising sufficiency. Um, Only with my limited amount of training was I able to escape alive with the few survivors I was able to rescue.
I'm interested. The fact that there were survivors at all. The fact that you're here. Did they allow you to leave?
I believe they were trying to instill a sense of fear. They were waiting for us to do something stupid.
So reserved then.
Yes. I walked into the room and one of them was having their blood boiled. I believe it was those who have taken the law of blood to its highest level.
I see. Did they say anything to you, this individual?
I was ready to avenge my fallen comrades, and she merely said that they were coming to take what belonged to them.
Could you describe to me the items that they took?
They took the magical tomes that were in the restricted section of the chantry.
I see. I've been informed by Domino prior to this instance that she allowed you to take possession of one of these tomes.
I questioned her about her dealings with me and why she would be allowing me to even approach such a tone. I mean, of course, I just recently received my appointment to apprentice of the Seventh Circle, but even amongst my rank, I'm not allowed there. She she said that she was well aware and she wouldn't do anything to cause harm to myself or to myself.
Domino was one of our asters. Do you know what that rank entails?
It is something that's spoken of in secret. Someone who is given a position of power amongst our circles who deals with dispensing punishment. in tracking down traitors.
So perhaps you can understand weariness if I were to say that I am very disturbed that one of our asters would turn traitor.
It is very troubling that she would do this to forsake house and clan.
I have known several traitors in my time. Some of them I have had the distinct pleasure of questioning myself before dealing with them as I saw fit. What do you think the reason is, if any, that a member of our house would turn traitor?
Our house is known as one of the pillars of the Camarilla. We were there when the Camarilla was formed. We were there when our lives were forever changed. However, I believe our clan is one that's steeped in mystery, rules, ordinances, and rituals. I confess that sometimes our practices are very new to me, very some even alien. But I do what I do for house and clan. Perhaps she couldn't take the assumed pressure. Even the youngest neonates are, even though the first rank aren't allowed to leave the chantry until they have sufficient preparation tutelage. Even though in the mortal realm we're considered adults, here we're considered less than.
Domino came into the pyramid some 300 years ago. She was a pupil of mine. I trained her. I saw conviction in her. And as the kindred that sired her, this betrayal is a very personal matter for me.
Understood.
Before I go any further, I wish you to tell me a bit more about this other individual, this other traitor, this other Tremere anti-tribune.
This woman appeared strangling the life out of another apprentice, and I challenged her. Domino stepped in the way and stopped me. And she merely spoke that she was coming to reclaim what was taken. I was ready to, the anger that was inside of me was ready to fight. However, there were other wounded apprentices, so my reaction was to save them, not to fight.
And she allowed you to do this?
Regrettably.
Regrettable in the fact that you were unable to stop them, or regrettable in the fact that you did not get a desired result?
Just a second.
And we play the waiting game. Waiting game.
Sorry about that.
And the waiting game's over.
It is regrettable that I didn't have the skill nor the power to stop them. I wasn't able to protect my home. I was made very aware of my limitations back then.
I see. Dmitri,
Yes, Lord Regent.
Prince Blythe acted against Tremere Protocol, as I'm sure you're well aware.
Yes.
Simply taking the princedom for himself without first consulting us.
Most regrettable.
Perhaps, but he has seemed to have held the city together, and that is commendable, and why no direct action will be taken to remove him in any way, shape, or form. However, the city of New Orleans has recently come to some scorn in my eye, in the eye of all those above me. I'm sure that you understand the implications of what Clan Toreador did to our associates.
I'm surprised that Clan Toreador is allowed a seat on the Primogen Council, assuming their behavior.
I have kept tabs on the city since that incident, and while the individual that did a great deal of harm to our wonderful house is the sire of the current Primogen, from everything I can see, Miss Carlyle is not a threat at the moment. Because of this, those above me have bequeathed that there will be no reinforcement ordered to be given to New Orleans as a whole. In fact, those within a position to are using boons and favors owed to ensure that the Camarilla at large does not give any decree to assist. But that does not mean that we don't have designs in New Orleans.
What about the assistance for the new apprentices that survived? Where will we stay? Am I to
And
be resigned?
there have been discussions. There were those that wished that you be returned to Vienna, and that all manner of methods within Clan Tremere's repertoire were to be used to ensure that you were not somehow in collusion with these traitors. After all, you did survive, and were the only one to face them down without any harm coming to yourself. However, and she steeples her fingers again, I am going to name you Regent for now. Dr. Ivanov has been recalled. He was not there to defend the Chantry, and you were. And you managed to save a great deal of assets from this event. A multitude of apprentices, servants, and ghouls, as well as two rather invaluable tomes. And she kind of gives you a look as though perhaps she knows that you didn't divulge the possession of the second one to her. She knows.
Fair enough.
I am going to allocate you whatever resources you need to acquire a residence that is suitable sized for several Tremere within Louisburg. That will be your base of operations to retake the city.
All right.
I have called for a special session for those within the clan, within the hierarchy over me, to see if we cannot find an Astor that is not currently bogged down with procedures in other parts of the world that can act as a advisor as well as your, well, to put it crassly, your enforcer.
For house and fun.
Indeed. I will send you details once you have established your residence. All necessary arrangements will be made to ensure that you do have the capital behind you to begin to rebuild. I do understand that there are gargoyles in the city, some
Yes.
of which survived. I'd like you to send an invitation to them, and that while there may be animosity between their species and the clan, that we would reward them handsomely if they were to take up old positions as guardians of our budding chantry.
I'll see what arrangements can be made.
If you should happen to see my child again, you are under a direct edict from me that she is not to be killed. If you could convince her to come peacefully, that would be ideal, but I don't make any illusions that that is possible. I will not delude myself in that way. If you must torture her, do so. But if she is killed, I will hold you personally responsible, Regent Harker.
Just so we have a firm clarification. If I find this person again, Domino, that I am not to harm her, that I am to leave her be.
If you can apprehend her, do what you must. But she is not to be killed.
What if she tries to kill me with deadly force? Am I not to defend myself?
Domino does not have the abilities to do you any lasting damage in terms of supernatural means. She has the abilities of our clan within the powers of Auspex and Dominate, which she is very skilled at, but her training consists mainly that of thaumaturgical counter-magic. I have heard that over the years she did pick up a few physical disciplines. Celerity and potence, as I am to understand it. But there are many ways to subdue a kindred without killing them, and you will make every effort to exercise those.
What if a war party is called that I'm not a part of and another kindred of the city decides to avail himself? Am I to report him to you?
He will give me all information on the kindred that strikes her down if it comes to that.
Understood.
I don't suppose you could describe to me the item that the other trader took.
It was a book wrapped in cloth.
She leans forward and her features become much more grave and serious. Do you know of House Goratrix?
No, my lady.
House Goratrix is the root of the Tremere Anti-Tribu, one of the founding members of the clan. That book was a volume of a Goratrix codex and held many secrets on arts that the clan at large considers profane. If you were to come across this volume again, I don't care how many apprentices, how many members of the Camarilla, how many Primogen, or even princes have to be sacrificed to reobtain it, if it is still within the confines of the city. Am I in any way unclear?
You're clear.
Very well. You may see yourself out, Regent Harker.
Dmitri bows deeply, excuses himself, and leaves.
After time goes by and you're flown back to Lewisburg, a few weeks pass before you are actually informed that a residence of suitable standing had been acquired. And it's a rather large house, an old Victorian-style mansion that had probably been there since just post-Civil War era. Perhaps at one time it was a plantation or a farm manor. But it is set away from Lewisburg proper, Lewisburg being something of a one-horse town where its biggest attractions are its movie theater, bowling alley, and Walmart. Funds flow in to provide the chantry with suitable furnishings for that of the clan. And a new retinue of ghouls and servants are brought in, as well as two individuals, two apprentices. But no more than that.
Understood.
And for the next several months, up until the beginning of April, your life revolves around the edicts given to you. Was there any actions that Dmitri might have taken outside of rebuilding the chantry?
All right.
That was a question.
I said, all right. Is there anything he would have done, you said?
Yeah.
Basically start reestablishing his influences and getting his the basic chantry in order, and just basically start reading the tomes that he acquired because they belong to him now.
As far as you can tell, anyway.
Or as I can tell.
Well, if that is what you're focused on, that will take up most of your time, and certain arrangements will be made that you are not hampered in doing so.
Okay.
And that is where the update on now Regent Harker ends.